Hi, I'm Dana and we're getting back to the rough stuff. So oh god, I don't even know when it happened, October, November? Mid-October, I think. I moved back to the town that I lived in when I just turned 16 through until I was 19, I think. It was where my partner at that time was living and where, he convinced me that I really wanted to move here, and I in turn then convinced my dad. But within, I think it was like 4 or 5 months of moving here, I moved out with my boyfriend at the time, and my dad's health continued to deteriorate, and I cared for him here until he died. And once that was done with, I was like, I do not want to live here anymore. Everywhere I go reminds me of my dead father and having to care for him, and all the times that I would like see him out in public or go out with him or go out to do things for him, and he would just in some way really embarrass me. And I then was also existing here within an abusive relationship, so there's a lot of places that I go past and just am around and see a lot where I had arguments, where he berated me, where he embarrassed me in some way, where just something that wasn't very pleasant occurred, you know? It feels like everywhere I go, and even like whether it's for fun, whether it's like I'm going for a fun little walk for my mental health, or whether it's like I have to go to Asda or Aldi, they're the only two shops near me, they're the only ones to go to. They've been here forever. I've been to them with him, you know? There were times that we went there and I'd want something with my own money, and he'd berate me and make me feel stupid and not let me buy something, even though it was with my own money. It was something. I was in an abusive relationship here, you know? And as such, I've been having a really fun time sort of dealing with it all. I was tempted to say there something along the lines of like, I've been realising that I wasn't healed as much as I thought I was. But at no point have I been like, yeah, I feel healed now, you know? It's all been shit that I've just sort of had to... Sorry, I don't know what happened then. But it's all been stuff that I've just had to deal with in the fucking moment, try to decompress and process a little bit, and in the midst of doing that, something else has started happening, you know? Like, it doesn't so much feel as though I've like chosen to like bottle it up or push it down or ignore it, so much as that's what I have had to do to survive thus far. And in being back here, I didn't fucking choose it, by the way, it's just how life goes. It's great, I'm loving it. But through being back here and constantly seeing things that just automatically spark that memory, you know? I've also, when I've spoken about this kind of thing in the past, I've had a lot of people be like, well, just don't think about it. And it's a case of like, I'm doing my little mental health walk and I look over and I didn't even realise I was down here, but that's the place where he used to work, where every single day for like fucking months he had me cook lunch at home and bring it down to him to eat. Like, it wasn't like a cute thing of me cooking us lunch and me going and eating with him. I had like at like 11:30 I'd have to start prepping food, do the half-hour walk, give him his lunch, and he would go back into the building and I would walk home. Like, it was literally like sometimes we didn't even like hug, like he'd barely say hi to me. Like, it was, you know, it's things like that where like I don't even think about where I am, and suddenly I just see something and that memory is there. I can't help it, I can't do anything fucking about it. I would love to be able to just not think about it. That's not an option. And as such, a whole bunch of the stuff that I just didn't have time to process and deal with is just constantly on my mind. And in some ways, I'm coping reasonably well, you know? Like, I'm focusing a lot on having a good routine, and I feel good about that. I feel like that does really help me, and I feel like satisfied with that, and it does help to like regulate me and make me feel just sort of like safe and not so much in fight or flight kind of like, what do I do kind of thing. Like, I know what's coming up, I know what I'm going to do. That's been good. I'm also planning little like trips and adventures and little things to do, so that I don't feel like I'm like settling into too much of a comfort zone and not, you know, pushing myself or challenging myself whatsoever, because I think that's still really important to do. But I'm doing it in like softer, gentler, more fun ways that, like, as much as it's going to eat up some of my energy, it's going to make me feel a little bit more burnt out, I'm still excited about it and looking forward to it, and it'll be a pleasant and good thing to have done, and it'll be worth having spent that energy on. Like, I am quite proud of myself for having built up ways to cope with it in that way, and learning to look after myself a little bit, you know? it'd be lovely if I was one of those people that's like really kind to myself and like really thinks I'm doing great and whatever, but I feel like I'm doing pretty bloody okay for it, and I feel like I'm, you know, being kind enough to myself. You know, I could probably be kind and allow myself to relax about it a bit more and all that kind of thing, but on the whole, I feel like I'm doing what I need to and challenging myself and also taking time to relax and recharge and look after myself. But there is unhealthier stuff. Like this is largely inspired by the walk I went on yesterday, because I just wanted to see the fucking water. I just wanted a dock walk, and I knew going further up along the docks is where I used to go for walks with my ex, so I didn't go up there. But the part that I ended up on, it quite frankly, I lived here for like 3 years, and we went on a lot of like walks and like random ventures out to places and saw like to random events and whatever, you know, like I do sort of feel like there is not a place in this town that I don't have some sort of fucking horrible memory associated to. So I'd gone on this like little walk and visited like 4 trauma locations by accident. I also had the whole thing of Winter ending up in the hospital that my dad died in, and I had not been back there since we had to go and collect his things and be like, hi, we're his family, he's dead. So I fucking hated that. And I got home from this walk and I don't know what fucking drove me to do it. I think it's the TikToks I've been seeing of people like finding like their dead grandparents and shit on Google Maps. I had like a little troll through my fucking like childhood village that I lived in as like the place that I wasn't quite born there. I think my family moved there when I was like 8 months old or something, and then we lived there until we moved to Denmark when I was like 10. And yeah, I went on Google Maps and visited like all of the locations that I remembered. I like walked around the streets virtually and looked at it through like the different years since I left, because that also fucked me up a bit because it starts in 2009, which I think is the year after I'd moved. Yeah, it would be, because we had like this Buddha statue on the house that the next owner took off. So like in one picture it's there and then in the next it's not. And it's just really bizarre that there's a timeline there from like the point I left to now. I didn't enjoy it. There's been a massive decrease, like the lack of funding from governments in the north and like all of that stuff, you know, it does bug me. But just on like an emotional trauma level, I don't know what drove me to do that. I have not done that in like years and years and years and years and years, you know. It was like when I was in high school and everyone was like, oh, look at my childhood village. That was the last time I did it. And to be fair, I've had friends more recently that did it and I thought it was a bit weird to show somebody. But yeah, and I feel like that was an unhealthy thing to do. I just sort of dissociated throughout doing it. I didn't even realise I'd spent like 2 hours doing it, just completely zoned out. And it didn't make me feel even a little bit good. I think the fact that I haven't been able to control my like outward environment as much as I would like. Like I'll give another thing I think was a really like good coping thing was making my room perfect. Like my room is exactly how I like it to be. So it's one of those things where being in the house and being in my bedroom, I feel very safe and secure. The moment I leave the house, I'm like, oh fuck, I hate everything around me, you know? And not being in control of that external factor, because like I said, I did not move here by choice. This is just my financial situation that I'm in. I don't feel like I'm in control of where I'm living. I never in a million years would I choose to live here. I would choose to live pretty much anywhere else if I had the choice. Like there's very few places I would refuse over this shithole. I fucking hate it here, truly. And because I can't control that, I have had a lot of like quite triggering food thoughts and thoughts around my body and food and that kind of thing. And again, like that's like the unhealthy part of it, but that's something I face with like a whole bunch of different fucking issues in my life where I'm like, I can't control that. What if I stopped eating? And it's obviously not fucking cool. So I've had quite a lot of success in redirecting that to being like, food isn't the enemy and I can control my food. I can control it by trying to make sure that I'm getting everything I need. And I'm not someone who's looked into like nutritional values of things. I used to know the calories of lots of things and that wasn't good for me. I've forgotten a lot of them. Some of them I still remember and I don't want to. But what I mean by that, I will expand, is that, for example, I wanted banana bread the other night and there was that little voice that's like, you don't fucking need banana bread. It's basically cake. You don't need to be eating like that late at night. You don't need to be eating like that at all. Don't, like, why are you doing that? Don't. And like, why fucking not? I enjoy banana bread. I wanted to eat banana bread. It was a nice little activity. I like baking. Like, you know, I counteract it with all that stuff first. But I also put in a bunch of like nuts and raisins and trail mix, so it had like coconut and banana bits, like extra dried banana bits in it, and it turned out fucking delicious. And I could also eat that without feeling any sort of guilt or niggle or weirdness, because nuts and trail mix are good for you. Duh, you know? And like the other night I was like, I have nights when I just want to feel full, you know? Like I just want to feel like I've eaten so much food and feel like, sorry if the shot's different, my phone ran out of memory again. I'm literally just deleting my entire fucking life off it at this point. But yeah, there's nights when, I suppose it's like a binge eating element of my personality. I just want to feel like I've eaten loads and loads of food, but I don't want to actually eat loads and loads of food, because if I do that I start just feeling really nauseous and I don't have a fun time, because I'm also a tummy troubles bitch. So the other night I had like a big fucking shit ton of salad and beetroot and boiled potatoes and some vegan salmon and some broccoli, and like filling up and feeling really satisfied on that kind of thing. Not having like the nausea side of it, because it's not actually like that much food once it's all chewed up and shit, you know, it's just lots of bites. Like that, I don't like mind tricks for when it comes to like eating less and shit. I don't really feel like that's what I've done, to be fair. I talked myself around into that one. That's not what I'm doing, you know? I'm eating like fairly, I don't know, I'll insert a picture, I have one. I'm eating like a good amount of fucking food still, you know? But it's food that I don't have to feel any guilt over. It don't make me feel sick and icky and gross. And you know, it's good fucking food. It tasted good. I like enjoyed the act of eating it. And that's great. I love that for me. That's a healthy thing for me to be doing, you know? Yeah, I won't lie to you. I've been doing a whole lot of just like sitting around watching TikTok and like random YouTube shit to not have to think about things. Been spending a lot of the time in the Discord to just distract myself from being alive. I'm really not having my best time. Like, it's definitely not my fucking worst. I've had a lot of worse times in very recent memory. This is definitely one of like the high fucking points of my life in the last like 5 years. But it's still not fucking brilliant. I'm still sort of having to like deal with being alive. And it's one of those things where I don't want to pin everything on like, oh well, it's where I am, you know, it's the triggers of all these trauma around me. It's just like, and it is like a horrible area as well. It's not even like it's just my trauma, like it's just not a fucking nice area in general. You know, I'm trying not to pin it all entirely on that, because I feel like that's just going to be real fucking unhealthy when I finally fucking do get the chance to move out of here and my life isn't suddenly fixed and perfect, you know? Like, I am going for little walks and trying to appreciate the nicer parts of the area, and I am quite thriving in like, I mean, I'm not, because I've just told you I'm just sitting around like dissociating with TikTok, but in the moments when I'm like actually lucid and conscious, I am sort of thriving in the little bubble that I've created with like the movie nights on Discord and doing my own little artsy projects and just generally doing my bits and making my stuff, you know, being me. So it's very much one of those where like, it's not a very nice situation. I don't feel particularly good about things, but I do feel like I'm managing to make the best out of the lot, you know? Like I could definitely mope and wallow and really whinge and complain and just be depressed to absolute fucking staying in bed and not doing shit and feeling awful. It would be very, 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 very easy right now, because I don't feel great. But using my little coping mechanisms and just trying to like do what I can and accept support and have a nice time with people when I can, you know, just genuinely just making the most of what I've got is really being very helpful right now. And I will also give that I think that's very much because I'm not really someone that's prone to depression. I very much feel like my depressive episodes have always been autistic burnout and just misdiagnosed. I also feel like a lot of it's just like invalidation of autistic experience of emotion, to be honest with you. Because a lot of the times when people have been like, oh, you've just seemed really depressed lately, it's like, my dad had just died. I'd just left my really horrible abusive relationship. My mum had just died. You know, it's like, it's when things had happened where it's like, I'm not depressed, but people just were like, you just don't seem to be doing great lately. But yeah, that's kind of the video, to be honest with you. I think it's one of those where I started this channel because I very much wanted to find like the other autistic people that were like me, because I was not finding any. And now I've found quite a lot, and I'm like, okay, we've achieved there. People that have experienced similar trauma to me, what do I do now? Like, I found the autistic people where we're all coping and surviving together. And to be fair, most of you are probably in the same boat. But it's stuff like this where like, it'd be great if I could just afford a therapist, wouldn't it? Like, if I could just have a wee bit of guidance through this process, because, like, I'm doing well enough on my own, but I don't really feel like I'm doing particularly well at processing and, like, actually dealing with things, so much as just staving off the really horrible emotions, you know? But it's one of those where, like, I do worry that I do toxic positivity sometimes, because, like, I've had comments from people about how I don't, and it's one of those things where, like, my language might not be the toxic positivity language, but I feel like I do sort of just force myself to, we're gonna be happy, because if we're not happy, it's horrible, you know? But yeah, great little message to end this video on. If anyone's got any tips and tricks and advice or similar stories, or just whatever the fuck you want to say, I would really appreciate people commenting on this. I'm really nervous that no one will. Yeah, it's just kind of fucking rough out here, but we live. That's the vibe. So yeah, I keep feeling like I need to, like, round off this video, but it is in fact rounded off. I just need to actually fucking say goodbye. So you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, or Blue Sky if you want to see more from me. That's a lie, because I haven't posted shit on Blue Sky yet, but I'm going to. I swear to God I am. You can also subscribe to me here and like the video. That's the easiest option, because you don't have to go anywhere else. If you really like my content, you can go over to Patreon and become a Patreon member. You get access to the Discord then. And you can also go over to Ko-fi and do me a little one-time financial support payment if you wanted to. You don't have to. I feel so weird about saying that now that people have pointed out about me saying it, but, like, you really don't have to. There really isn't any pressure. It's just there if you want to, because people asked about it. It's up to you. I'm going now. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you have a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again in a couple of days. Pause. Stop.